Hello, everyone, and welcome to Theme Park Workshop, the podcast, episode 24. And happy Halloween! This is out now on Halloween. And of course, we're talking about the spooky. And by we, I mean me. My name's Adam. And we've also got.
Hello, my name's Kelly, or Killer Kells.
Hey, this is Bella, aka Flynn Rider's Nose.
And if you've been listening to the show anytime lately, you know we talk about Halloween events quite a bit this season in season 3. We've talked about Horror Nights out the wazoo. Last week, Kelly gave us the big rundown on Oogie Boogie Bash. If you haven't listened to that episode, I know it's Halloween, so I mean, unless you're making that last minute flight to California, you probably won't make it. But it'll help you get hyped for next year and look up some videos and all that. So make sure you give that a listen. It's really great. And today, we're talking about the other chilling haunts of Central Florida. We've got Sir Henry's Haunted Trail and Howl-O-Scream Tampa, Howl-O-Scream Orlando, and on our Patreon, we're doing a bonus segment on Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and some other fun things. So if you want to join our Patreon, find us at patreon.com/themeparkworkshop, and I'll give a little shout out to our current patrons, Jonathan Edward and Landon Kanoki. Thank you so much for supporting us, and I hope you enjoy that stuff. But before we get into the haunted houses and to these haunted events, we've got something wonderful. Some might even call it a dream announcement. Fantasmic, as we know, is coming back real soon. November 2nd is the preview, and November 3rd is when it officially returns. And it's coming back with some new stuff. To get into the specifics, there's going to be some new segments in Fantasmic. We are going to experience Moana, Frozen 2, Mulan, Aladdin, Pocahontas, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, and The Lion King. So there are some changes from the previous show. I think that's the biggest change. I don't know, Kelly or Bella, if you saw any other changes on there. But if not, what do you think about these new films being featured?
I'm so excited.
We're at the same time just saying the same thing. I'm so excited. Well, so I am going to. So, unfortunately, my main news source is Twitter, and I assume people on Twitter are talking about this, but I've just been flooded with Taylor Swift. So I did not even realize that I will be there opening weekend, and I am definitely going to see this on Saturday the 5th. So I'm super excited for that. If anyone's going to be there, let us know on Twitter and say hello and let me know which showing you're going to. But I'm super excited about it. I have only seen Fantasmic once because apparently I'm a terrible Disney fan. So, well, I know my husband loves the show, so we will definitely be there on Saturday.
You're not as bad as me, Kelly. I'm hosting a theme park show. I've done it since 2019, and I've never once seen Fantasmic in person.
What?
Bella's in shock.
This is my Joker. Like, Fantasmic is my Joker. Like, I don't think anyone ever understands how much I love Fantasmic. I would literally go in 2019. I'd go to Magic Kingdom all day. I'd see the last Castle show. I'd take a bus over to Hollywood Studios, get there at like maybe 6-ish. Fantasmic doesn't start until like 9. Keep that in mind. I would go get either chicken nuggets and a Powerade to go in a little to-go box, or I would go to Woody's Lunchbox and get a grilled cheese, and I'd go sit outside Fantasmic and just wait. And I'd be like the first one in on the benches, and I'd have my own specific spot, the little bench all the way to the right where the boat comes out first. And I would see it every night. I love Fantasmic. I love Fantasmic. So I am incredibly excited. I will be there all of opening weekend. I will be camping out all day. I will be that crazy person. I will be the one screaming, crying, throwing up, shaking, ripping my hair out. Like, you know that. Yeah, I'm just, and like Kelly said, if you guys are going opening weekend, let us know. We would love to see you and talk about Fantasmic and anything. I'm so excited. That's it.
Now, even though I've never seen the show, it's one of the nighttime shows I've wanted to see the most ever since hearing about it. It's just when I went to Disney as a kid, we were kind of all checked out by like 7 o'clock, and it's like we're not staying until the end when traffic's going to be the worst.
True.
But I have a personal belief that nighttime shows are like the thesis statement of a theme park. It helps tie everything in together, and I'd love to see how it all ties in with Fantasmic, especially with these new songs. These new segments. Moana, I think, is one of the best Disney movies. Frozen 2, some days might be my personal favorite. I like it more than the first because of the songs. Into the Unknown,
Yes.
Show Yourself, especially, which I saw people tweeting, show yourself in Fantasmic, show yourself in Fantasmic. And if that's the case, I will be joining Bella in the shaking, crying, throwing up, etc., etc. I'm not a fan of the Pocahontas movie, but Colors of the Wind is a good little tune. So I guess I thought that was going to be deleted, but I guess it survived. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see the show eventually. Like, I am going to commit to seeing this new version at some point in time in the not so distant future. Not a Disney song, but sounds like a banging tune.
I cannot wait. We will definitely have at least a Fantasmic segment, maybe a Fantasmic episode. I don't know. It's going to be very fun. I'm excited for that.
Immediately, yes.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with the not so scary out of the way, well, not the not so scary event that comes later on the Patreon, but
Oh my God.
I get a grin again. Film is a weapon.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
I will keep these lights up until the day I die if I think there's a chance that Will's still out there.
The caretaker is here. And It's alive!
we're going to move into the scary stuff. So as I said at the beginning of this episode, we experienced Sir Henry's Haunted Trail, Howl-O-Scream Tampa, and Howl-O-Scream Orlando between the three of us. So to start, Sir Henry's Haunted Trail, I did, and Kelly, you did, correct?
I did, yep.
So Bella, any questions that you may have, let us know.
So, like, what is it? Because, like, I know, like, trails, so I'm assuming they're not really houses, they're, like, trails, which seems scarier to me for some reason. That just seems scarier. And then I'm looking at your show notes and there's laser tag ?
Kind of.
There is. we'll get into that. So I can kind of go over a quick overview of it. So basically you roll up to the event, you park, and you go inside, and there is like a, I don't know, kind of like an open area where there's a couple of little food carts, and then there's a couple of little shops where they have merchandise, and they have like salsas and jams and things like that they sell also. And there's a bunch of characters that are walking around that are either from the trails or just Sir Henry characters. And then there's 3 trails total, and it's kind of like a mix between a house and like just a full-on trail, because there are portions that are built up. Sometimes there's an open roof, sometimes there's not. So it is still kind of like you're going on a haunted house. And then there's like portions that are completely outside as well, with trees that may or may not have set pieces in certain areas of it. And then there are 2 escape rooms, which are really quick. I think they're both only 2 minutes. I did both of those.
It's so short. It's
really short. Yeah. But
almost impossible.
it is almost impossible, but to keep people like going through them. And then there's a little laser tag as well. But it's a really cool event. And I feel like I've been going since 2020.
Oh, nice.
And it has grown a lot in the past couple of years.
Yeah, for me, this definitely rivals like some of the bigger names in local or in Orlando, Tampa, Central Florida horror. Because the creativity is like on par, I think, with something like Horror Nights. I think one of the houses actually rivals a certain Horror Nights house. I'll get into that later. But yeah, as Kelly was saying, some trails do go outside. Some have like the coverings, and all the lines in the trails are like actually performed. It's a live performance aspect as opposed to like triggers and stuff like that, which I think is kind of like Howl-O-Scream. Howl-O-Scream has the triggers, but they also have the live lines and stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic how they do that. Like, the actors are phenomenal.
They really are. And one thing about Sir Henry's that I found different than any other event I've been to is they actually tell you the order in which to do the trails. So when you go to pick up your ticket, and by the way, this is a very indie haunt. Like, it literally, there's a house, there's a house in the entrance. So this is like in some guy's neighborhood, like backyard.
Mhm.
It feels. I don't know if that's the owner who lives there, or it's just some house and he's letting them, set up shop. But like it feels very local. But then you get into the deeper things, like into the houses and see the production design, or you read their mythology because they keep up with their mythology and they publish it as a book. So like they're really into all of that jazz. But yeah, the trails go inside, outside. It's live. It's intimate. Like but it's got some really solid production design. Now we've been talking about the trails, so I'll go ahead and describe the storylines and some of the things behind the trails. Kelly, do you have something else?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention really quick that I think is interesting is because I was just thinking about it and I was like, have I really only been going for those 3 years? But I've been to several events because they also do almost every year they do a Valentine's Day event that's just Valentine's Day weekend where it's I don't remember if it's 2 or 3 haunted trails normally, but they're like Valentine's themed or love themed. Like I think it was like love, I don't know, love kills or something like that, like very like spooky Valentine's Day. And then last year they did a Christmas themed haunt as well, which was so good. And they're like actually super scary. So it's kind of cool to get that haunt fix like outside of the season. So if y'all want to check that out this year and next year, I'm so down. But I think they do a good job of just like having seasonal things like that outside of Halloween season. That is really cool.
I think it's really unique because most people like think of like horror and they're immediately like, oh, Howl-O-Scream, oh, Halloween Horror Nights. But like you could make a horror event and to like theme it around pretty much anything. So I think it's really unique and it's really cool for like maybe some people weren't able to go during Halloween and we're able to go to like certain events. So like they kind of have them like periodically throughout the year. I think it's really cool and really unique.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually going to wait until one of the seasonal events because I already got all in on Horror Nights. I'm like, I'll just make this my haunt for October and then I'll just do Sir Henry's later. But then like with friends, I'm like, oh, have you heard of this? It seems really fun. It's like, all right, let's do it. I'm like, I guess we're doing it. Actually had me do it this year. I'm so glad I did go. So there are 3 trails, and as I said earlier, they assign you which one you go to when you enter. The first house that we did, or that I did, I don't know about you, Kelly, was Headless, which is their Headless Horseman house. And the storyline that they gave out was a Revolutionary War general famous for beheading his victims, buried treasure somewhere in the town. Many years later, some treasure hunters get too close to finding his secret fortune, so the headless ghost of the war general has come back to collect the heads of all who seek his treasure. How much are these treasure seekers willing to sacrifice for the fortune? That's the storyline for that. Then they had a second house that was more old Hollywood themed, which I really liked, was Final Cut. A newly famous actress purchases a beautiful mansion in which the previous owner committed suicide. Unbeknownst to the actress, the spirit of the dead woman resides inside a statue in the mansion. On the night of her big premiere, the spirit decides to wreak havoc out of jealousy for never being able to reach fame in her own life, for fame can have a deadly price. That's the description they gave us. And then the final house, which is actually at the front of the trail, in front of the park, is Rapture of the Deep, which is like an underwater sea village house or trail. The town of Portsmouth, struck a deal many years ago with a powerful sea witch. If they make a yearly sacrifice to her, she will keep the winds and the waves favorable to them. But after the events with Captain Jonah, the yearly sacrifice was neglected. Now the sea witch, along with her minions, vow to put the town of Portsmouth in the bottom of the ocean. A covenant broken must receive the due punishment. I don't know if I picked up the Headless storyline quite as much as I did the Final Cut and Rapture of the Deep ones, which ironically, or not, fittingly rather, those two end up being my favorite of the trails. But another interesting thing about Sir Henry's that I think some audience will like, and I think they're not super upfront about the fact that they're actually a Christian event.
Mhm.
So if you go on their website,
Really?
it'll actually have like Bible verses all over it, or like in certain sections, and each house is actually based on a Bible passage.
Oh, now that
Okay,
didn't
I can
know.
see it. I see it with especially the last
cool.
one,
Yeah, so like Rapture of the Deep.
Captain Jonah.
Yeah, see, I think that's like them being cheeky, but it's actually based on like, for the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life.
Oh,
Like they actually put it on the cards. That's how I know this. They put it on the cards that they give out about the storylines and stuff. And then Final Cut is based on 1 John 2:16, it says. And Headless Horseman is like, don't lay up treasures for yourself on Earth, where moth and rust and destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, because that's about treasure hunting. And Final Cut was about, desire and stuff like that. So very good for apparently a Christian event to not make all their haunted houses about like hell and the rapture and
like Hell Night.
Wow.
Do you remember
Yeah.
Hell Night?
Oh, how can I forget Hell Night? I only went 1.5 or half a time, but it was all
It
over.
sounds traumatizing.
It was.
So I'm not a religious person. I knew that there was a religious event because I saw that they had the Bible verses on the website and on some of their stuff. But
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was based on passages of the Bible. And I think that's interesting that they can have an event where like they can incorporate that because it's important to them and it is important to some of the people that go there. But that for me, like it didn't affect my like experience at all. Like I didn't even notice, but it's like I think it's really cool that they do that, because now I'm like, ooh, like I don't know anything about the Bible really, but I'm like, oh, I could like look it up and like see what this is about and kind of relate it. I don't know. I just think it's so interesting when people do things like that where I was going to say relating to literature. It is literature, but like something like that where it's relating to something else. I just think that's interesting. So thank you for sharing that. That's so cool.
That is fascinating. Because most of the time,
you don't think that, yeah.
No, because my old church, not name dropping, but they like their youth program just like posted this whole thing about like Halloween is like bad and like stay away from these things on Halloween, and like it's like everything that Halloween is. So like, which is like, if Christians want to uphold those, that is perfectly fine. Go for it. Live your best life. Slay. But it's just like fascinating that an event that's really popular, like I didn't know that it was a Christian event. Most people I don't think know. And I think that's really cool that they can do that.
And I feel like it's like, not only is it such a good event, but it's such a good Halloween event that embodies so much of Halloween in a way that also like relates to their religion and is, because like you said, a lot of people don't like Halloween and think of it as a non-religious holiday, like that it's or against their religion. And so the fact that they're tying their religion into this very fantastic Halloween event, I just think that's really cool.
And they double down and triple down on it because they do the seasonal stuff too.
They do, yeah. That's awesome. Interesting.
That's so cool.
And
Good for them.
And it's done with the passion of like actual horror fans. Like they're not there like, people are, halfway, one half of I4 likes this Halloween event and the other half of I4 likes this Halloween event. Why don't we cash in on that and, proselytize that way? It's more, no, we love horror. And I think Charles Gray on his Twitter says he's a Christian too, and he leads Halloween Horror Nights now. It's like, no, we're fans of horror and we can relate this in any way we can. Let's do it. And it's done with like excellent production design, creative scares, scary characters. Like they go all out and it's bloody, it's scary, it's all of these things. So I think that's pretty. It's not a Pure Flix movie of an event. It's not Judgment House.
Don't even bring up Judgment House. No. Oh my god.
It's scary too. Like I honestly think that some of these trails that I've been in, so the first time I went was during 2020 and it was one of the only events that were open, or at least at kind of more of a, not full capacity as in people, but like, they had like more of a fuller event. Everyone was wearing masks and they do stay, I don't remember how many feet away from you, if it was like 6 feet or if it was not quite 6, but like it was one of the scariest things I'd ever done. I went with just one friend and myself, and we hadn't talked about this yet, but kind of like at Howl-O-Scream, they will separate you into groups, unlike Halloween Horror Nights. So you're in just your group. So it was just me and my one friend. This year I brought more friends because I was scared. And it was like, I don't know, even though they couldn't get that close, they were still like, they'll follow you in certain areas, and it's just very haunting. Like the fact that they can like make that work in an event like that, that's what made me go, okay, I need to come back when they're at fuller capacity, once this starts to improve and things like that. And wow, they really knocked it out of the park this year. I think this has been the best event yet, and I've been to like 6 of their events, I think, or 5. What was your favorite trail, Adam?
My favorite trail was Rapture of the Deep, which
Okay,
for Halloween Horror Nights fans, that's kind of their equivalent of Deadman's Pier. And with that one, what blew me away wasn't just the big mechanical fish at the end that swings
so
down
good.
and almost hits you in the face. It's the smells that they had throughout the trail, inside and outside. And then they had towards the end, if we want to talk about spectacle, they had a bridge, like a moving bridge that you're on it and you're walking and it's actually shaking you and stuff, as like almost a grand finale kind of thing. It's so intense. And the boo holes were in creative places. I thought the storyline came across really clearly in that one too. Over at Headless, the op over there, she was saying like, oh, I think Headless is the scariest one. Final Cut is like, it's scary and it's atmospheric. And Rapture of the Deep, well, it's not scary. It's definitely more about the atmosphere than anything else. But I thought Rapture of the Deep, it had the atmosphere in like spades. It had the scares. It had the scariest scares, I think, next to Final Cut, actually. And it had a really solidly told storyline. And that's one that we did twice. And our second run was like with 10 minutes left in the event. We basically closed the house. And so we're walking through a scene, and then a scare to go, bleh, and then we keep on going. And then someone in my party looked back and was like, they're following us. They're following us. And as we kept on going, they like crossed over, like they followed us for like 3 scenes. It was insanity. And then the Sea Witch came out at one point, and she's like, "You didn't pay the sacrifice. Get them," basically, and stuff. And at one point, there's probably like 8 monsters trailing us, and it was terrifying, and it was so fun. We were laughing, we were screaming. Like, I don't think I scream a lot in the events anymore. Definitely that the first 2 times I was screaming and I was swearing, but back in 2019 when I was first introduced to scares. But now I just kind of like, I jump sometimes, and maybe I'll mostly smile. This time, like, because they can get so intimate and so close and all that, and they can do these funky things, I was definitely spooked quite a bit.
It's scary. It's really scary. So I liked Rapture of the Deep a lot. I loved that scene with the bridge because there was somebody like grabbing at our ankles when we did it, and it was really, they can't touch you. They can't touch you.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, because we didn't talk about that. But it feels like they can. It feels like they're going to in your brain. It's just so good. My favorite was actually the Final Cut because I love like an atmospheric house or trail in this case. And so there were a lot of scenes where it was very like interactive, like they're talking to you a lot. And like they're, they'll ask you questions, and it's like, it feels like you're going through like scenes, and it's just really well done. And they're asking like, oh, are you going to make the cut and all these things. And it's fun. But what I liked the most
final cut.
Yes.
Because I have.
Yes. So good. And the dialogue was good, but my favorite part of it, well, okay, it wasn't my favorite when I was going through it, but there's a scene, I think it was this one with the closet, right? Was this house?
Yes
It's like pitch black, and you're in a closet, and like literally the clothes are so close that they're touching you, like you're walking through, and it lasted longer than I could handle. It was scary.
And it was dark too
in the clothes, and they can't touch you. And obviously you can't touch them, but they are as close as they can possibly be without touching you. It was so scary. And I was like, oh my God. But just the atmosphere, I feel like in that whole event as a whole is like that they follow you. I will not go in the back at Sir Henry's because I'm like, nope, it's too scary. I can't have them like trailing behind you, and they can get so close. Ooh, but that
back
one was
is
really
actually
fun.
The scariest place at Sir Henry's.
I agree completely. I'm like a baby. I usually don't go first. I do with that one. It's scary. Yeah. Headless was good too. I see it was both of our least favorite because I loved Rapture of the Deep also, but it was the one I did second. And it was very solid. It just I didn't, like you said, I didn't get the theming from going in there and not knowing the story beforehand. And now that I know it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But that headless horseman on the horse was fantastic. Like
the one going throughout the event.
Yeah, and then when
Yeah.
I did it, they were in the trail as well.
Oh yeah, there was a live horse in there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. It was really cool. And then there was
Yeah,
I
Bella.
think there was also a
What?
not real horse as well. But-
Yeah, the final headless horseman is
Yes.
just a strobe, and then a
Mhm.
chainsaw chases you out of there.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess I'm not gonna go because of the chasing chainsaws.
Well, it's
Sir
with us.
Henry's.
We'll in the middle. Adam will go last.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Sorry, Adam.
Nah, it's
No,
all
but
good.
it's good.
I was the shield when we went, because everyone thought the front was gonna be the scariest part. So actually I went slowly. So I made them, put them in torture more so I could like get scared and all that.
They did. I feel like they also do a really good job of scaring. So we had a group of like 6 people, and I feel like they did a really good job of scaring all 6 of us in different ways. Like my friend and I were like, we'll be safe in the middle, and we most definitely were not, because they,
Right.
there would be people that didn't quite come out yet, and they would come out at us, and I think they knew that we were scared, so they were like targeting us. But then there's the people that follow you, and then of course if you're in the front, you're going to get some of the first scares as well. So
Yeah.
it was just very well done. That pitch black scene is going to haunt me forever. I think it reminded me of the dark hallways at Halloween Horror Nights, but
The closet
oh,
scene.
yes, the closet
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah,
It's
if you
probably
thought
not
if you
even
thought the
that
closet scene in
right.
Halloween this year at HHN was scary, it has nothing on what Sir Henry's did in Final Cut.
Yeah. And I know that event opens at, I don't know if it's 7 or 7:30, but it's not quite dark. I feel like you got to go when it's dark if you actually like really want to get scared, because I feel like that scene wouldn't have been as impactful. It was like scarier than anything else I did this season. It was like really solid.
Dang.
Even Bug House. It was really good.
Ugh. Landon, if you, well, obviously you're listening, the Bug House review by me is coming soon. I know you were tweeting about it,
Next episode.
but
Landon's
oh,
actually the
God.
guy I went with for Sir Henry's. He and his
Oh,
girlfriend.
slay.
Yeah.
Aw,
Hi, Landon.
that's awesome. Now, did you do the escape rooms?
Yeah, we did both.
Okay, we did too.
Yeah,
Did
I forget what the
get
Jack
out
the
of
Ripper
any of
one.
them?
Do you remember what the Jack the Ripper one was called? It's not on the
Um,
website. I was trying to, and I took a
Ooh,
picture, but
it's
it
like
came out super
news
blurry.
something.
Is it like
Something-
haunted headlines or something like that?
Yes, I think it was haunted headline or bloody headlines.
Something like that. Yeah.
I think it was, I don't know, bloody headlines. But
That sounds right.
did you get out of any of them?
No.
Me either.
So yeah, Bella, they've got escape rooms there. One's called Cavities, which I wanted to do because, well, I actually want to do the Jack the Ripper one first because I've got a special connection to Newsies. Even though it's not a Newsies house, I just saw headlines and
Then
newspapers.
you
and
need
I'm
to
like,
see Monster Stomp.
oh yeah.
Yes. Ooh, I can't wait to talk about
I'll have to
that.
pull up on YouTube because I don't think I'm gonna be getting to SeaWorld this year. But yeah, so Cavities was there. I don't know, candy horror
Yeah.
escape room, and then or haunted headlines. You had to like Jack the Ripper's mystery was solved, but the reporter died, and you had to like try to find his proof or something like that.
Mhm.
You only have like 3 to 5 minutes to do it, and the clues are not. I'm a little grumpy. They are not bad escape rooms. They're not bad, activities to do in the event, especially for the price. I think you pay like $5 extra to do
$5
them.
extra per like escape room, and then the same thing with the laser tag is $5 extra. So yeah.
Yeah, so for the price, it's not bad at all. But I was definitely like grumpy because I'm like, well, we found like 4 of these things in Cavities, and you found 2 of the things in the Jack the Ripper escape room, but you didn't get any clues and puzzles and stuff. But they are doable. Don't get me wrong. But they are definitely a good thing to shake it up. Like I'm not mad that they have it. Like I think,
Yeah.
if you go and you do it, you'll have a good time. I'm just
I will
mad that I
say-
couldn't beat them.
Yeah. So I was super confident when I went into it, because last year I think was the first time they did an escape room. I could be wrong, but at Christmas time they did it. And so I went to the Christmas one, and I made it out with, it was just me and one other person. And honestly, like you would think you want more people in there because more brains. I honestly think it's harder with more people because it's a small room. There's just too many people in there. So I did it with one other friend, and we were searching around at Christmas, and like 3 seconds before we would have gotten kicked out. Like we wouldn't have made it. We did make it, and it was just, we had all the clues, but we had to do a code on the door, and we were just like, it was not clicking. And then we had to basically figure out what order the things came on, because we had to find like stockings, and we figured it out at the last second, and we were like, oh my gosh, put it in, and we did it like 3 seconds before we would have gotten locked, told that we didn't pass. So that was really cool, because we had some scare actors that were like elves, and they were like outside of the house, but they were like heckling us before we went in, telling us they wouldn't make it because all the other people before us didn't. Not everyone the whole night, but like the few people before us. So that was fun that we got to heckle them back. When I did cavities, we actually had scare actors in there when we first came in, and then they left before the actual timer started. But they were kind of harassing us about it. It was the guy with the like pumpkin head, and it was kind of his house. So it was interesting. He's like, he was chilling in the chair when we went in there.
Oh, nice.
When they were like getting it set up. So that was cool. But yeah, they're really fun, and I think it's a cool thing, but it's really quick. And I know why they do that, because they want everybody to be able to do it, but it's tough. And I do think with 2, probably maximum 3 people, it's a little bit better. I think 2 people was kind of perfect, because you have more space, but don't be like as confident as I was going into it. I was like, oh, of course we're gonna get it. We got the last one. They were hard.
Cavities kind of had the same puzzle as the one you did during Christmas, where you had to find the things and put the code in.
Yes,
I don't even know how you're supposed to solve the Jack the Ripper one. I kind of threw my hands up.
Yeah, we found 3 of the 4 pieces, but I have no idea. There are things like on the wall that you could tug on, and I never figured out what those did. So maybe that's why I never found anything. I was just like pulling on it. I was like, I don't know what this is for, but yeah, it was cool. Did you do the laser tag?
I did.
Did you? Too.
Yeah.
That's it?
So they give you like these rifles, these laser tag rifles.
Yeah.
I said laser tag rifles. They're pretty much like, I don't know. I don't know my guns and fake guns very well. But so there's no teams. It's a free for all, and you have to shoot the front of your opponent's guns to get points and stuff. And then you got a health bar. So if you're really bad, then you can run out of lives, and if you run out of lives, you can't participate. You've also got to reload every so often, and it was so dark. Like, you hit the red thing on here, I'm like, I don't see any colors. I don't know what you're talking about. It's fun to do with friends. My group of 3 teamed up with a group of 2 because they're going to be all alone. And we ran around. I ran around like a chicken with my head cut off, because I can't aim, because I'm like trying to shoot the gun, but I'm trying to sit down the receptacle, but I don't shoot. I don't play with guns. I'm not used to that. I'm used to like, Extreme Fun Center, which is a local laser tag place.
Fun Center.
Oh my gosh. Okay. When are we going? I haven't been there in so long.
I want to go play laser tag there. I love their laser tag.
Yeah.
Podcast trip. We're going. Who wants to join us?
Films a podcast episode in the laser tag arena.
Rented out not to play laser tag, but to record a podcast.
No, we could do it. We could get GoPros and put them on our head and do like a video podcast episode. Well, I guess it would just
stay tuned, patrons. But... Just kidding. What was I going to say? How many kills did you have, Adam?
I have no idea. I didn't know how to read the gun. I didn't know how to shoot the gun. I didn't know how to reload. I had to run up to my friend. I had to run up to Landon, how'd you refill the thing? And he said, I pressed this right here. I'm like, I thought I did too, but I'm glad I fixed it. Meanwhile, the son and the father of the group of 2, they're over there like, well, that's an easy shot. And so I just hear bing, 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 coming from my gun.
The screaming noises from the gun are very intense and dramatic.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna say in this study of 2 that the guns were definitely broken, and it's not that we are just bad at it, because I had 0 kills and like 20 deaths or something. I don't know how many deaths you're allowed to have. A lot. We also had a group of 3, because 3 of the other people in our group didn't want to do it. So we had a group of 3, and then we were paired with a random couple, and they kicked our butts apparently, because none of us had any kills, but we had many deaths. So I was like, well, I guess the 2 of them just killed us a lot. I liked it more in Christmas because they had a scare actor in there that was like a gingerbread man. Now, I don't know if he was in there all night, but he like was running around in there, and it just kind of added an extra layer. And they were playing like Christmas music, and it was like there were bright colors in there. This was kind of more like dark, and I don't remember if there was any music playing. I could just hear
so. I don't remember that. I think I was just hearing my stress and anxiety first.
Yeah,
Not
and then I would
anxiety,
hear
just
people
stress because I'm not understanding the game.
and then I heard people screaming from the house that was next to it. I think it was Headless coming out. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
It was I would probably do it again just because it's $5. Same thing with the escape rooms, but the trails were definitely my favorite part of the event overall. But
for sure, and the atmosphere, like in the central area and the hub, because they had a headless horseman walking, like an actual horse, an actual man sans head going around, and I think he had a sword. And then they had Sir Henry walking around. They had original characters to like represent the different trails. And then there's a guy who was puppeteering a monkey for some reason. I'm not sure what that was about, but I mean, he was fun.
It was cool, and I bought some salsas from the little market there, so I'll let you guys know how that was.
Yeah,
but
we need a food review.
Yeah, I'll give you a food review at the beginning of one of our future episodes, probably by next episode, because I'm sure I'll eat it by then. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's a really solid event, and one of the main reasons I didn't mind buying all of those 3 extra things, which totaled to $15 for, several minutes worth of fun for each one.
True. Yeah.
And so I just like supporting these, this event because I've heard very good things about the people that own it from the Horror Nights people I follow on Twitter, and it's a local haunt, and I just love local haunts because they're so I don't know, intimate and fun, and it feels like it's for me, I don't know. I don't know how to put that, but I just think it's nice versus the giant crowds that are at some of the other events. So there were a lot of people though when I went, but still didn't wait crazy long for anything. And there are always scare actors running around, and they'll come up to you in the line and stuff. So they just do a really good job of keeping you entertained, even if you're not inside of something there. It's really cool.
Yeah. Even like during the escape rooms, we had a set time, but some of the escape rooms kind of fell behind.
Yes.
So I think there's probably a 15-minute gap between when we were supposed to start and when we actually went in. And so we're standing in the line because we don't want to miss our time when they finally let us through. And so they constantly had the scare actors coming into the line to kind of keep us, in the spirit. One thing I didn't like about a certain some of the queues over at Horror Nights is that you're kind of detached from the horror and the atmosphere entirely.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case at Sir Henry's. Granted, it's a totally different setup, but I like that Sir Henry's does that, where even if you're standing in line, you can look around and still appreciate the imagery, but that's going to get old after a little bit of time. So they have some alien monsters go and make the kind of sound and stuff, and Sir Henry's walking around seeing everything that he's created and all that jazz. So no, they definitely keep the atmosphere alive throughout the house or throughout the event and in the houses and in the escape rooms and even the laser tag, and it's probably one of the best values you can get for a haunt.
For sure.
I think the base ticket's $30 something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get the unlimited, which lets you do the trails however many times, that's only $10 more. Add on these $5 activities, it still doesn't add up to even one of the more corporate events and stuff. And as Kelly was saying, the group is really good, and there are all sorts of people who have worked with Sir Henry's, and they're no, this is one of the best events. I'm so glad they're passionate about it, and they're good people, and they're a quality event. And there's some other local haunts with big billboards that have an alleged sketch just all about them.
I did have a friend ask me if I wanted to go to that event that you're referring to, and I was like, absolutely not, and here's why we should not. So
never.
I suggested this event instead, and they were very happy about it. So this is a good event to support. And apparently if religion is important to you, that's something cool that you can look forward to with this event as well, if that's something you want to. I didn't realize they would put Bible verses with each of the trails, so maybe you could look at that paperwork that they have to see that. And I don't know, I just think that's a cool thing as well. So definitely think that everyone should take a look at their I follow them on Instagram to keep informed, but their other events throughout the year are definitely something to look forward to as well, especially if you're looking for that kind of haunt feel in other times of the year, like I am always doing.
Yeah, and they're active on Twitter too. Like they retweet
yes.
every time someone goes and posts about it. They're going to retweet that. They interact. Like someone joked that one of the molds at Horror Nights looks like Sir Henry, and they said, "I mean, that's not us. We think we got things better." Just saying, things like that. So I'm glad we're getting some representation, but the full thing, the big, the real thing's actually better, and stuff
That's
like
cool.
that. Yeah.
So speaking of corporate events, which one do we want to start with?
I'd be down to start with Orlando.
Yeah, because we've been talking a lot, so let's let you talk a lot.
That's the only one I've done. Oh, Howl-O-Scream Orlando. So it's basically the same thing as last year. They have a couple of houses. They have Siren of the Seas, Blood Beckoning, Dead Vines, Root of All Evil, Captain's Revenge, Drowned in Darkness. Did I do that one? I think I did. And then Beneath the Ice. The only one I didn't do is Beneath the Ice. Just because that one is just like so scary. I've seen it in videos.
Long. I did it last year.
And these houses are very long. Oh, Drowned in Darkness is Captain Revenge. Got it.
Sorry, that's bad show notes on my part. I was doing it on my phone, and I think enter key happened somewhere.
No, you're good.
I thought that was the case, but I wasn't sure, so I wasn't gonna
I'm like, why would I
Yeah.
put a dash but nothing else? It's because it went to the next
Yeah.
line. Sorry, Bella.
No, you're
I'm
good.
blaming Google.
Yeah.
Google Docs.
The first house I did with my friend was Blood Beckoning, which is Scratch's house, and Scratch is the main icon. I guess you could call their icon this year. She's cool. She's a girl boss. And we did that, and it was set in like a bookstore, which is really fun.
Was that there last year? I don't think so. Ooh, I'm excited
like set
for
in a
that.
bookstore. And I didn't know that they paced people through the houses. And so the people in front of us go, and it's like a minute later, and we still haven't gone. And I'm like, what's going on? And we go, and it's just us in there. And I'm not going to say I hated it because of the house. The house seemed cool from what I saw, because I was not looking. Because I didn't watch any of the videos. Because I like to watch the videos and learn about the scares, so I'm not as scared, but I didn't watch any of them. And I think I just might be cursed at Howl-O-Scream, because last year, even with my no scare necklace, love that they have a no scare necklace, I got cornered up against a trash can for a couple of minutes by a scare actor who wouldn't leave me alone.
Oh no.
And then I think it was in Blood Beckoning. It happened the first time. It happened again in another house. This scare actor, I'm holding on to my friend, and I'm like looking down, and all of a sudden I feel the scare actor right up against my face. Like his nose is basically in my ear and is like screaming into my ear and following us all the way down this hallway. And it happened a couple more times through the night. So that's my only downside, I guess. I might just be cursed. But I mean, it was good.
For the listeners, I just want to confirm the no scare necklace doesn't work in the house, right? It's just in the scare zones.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just in the scare zones. Obviously, in
Which
the houses,
makes sense.
I'm fine with getting scared. It's mostly for the chainsaw, because there is a roaming horde of chainsaws. I did not run into them though. I did not. There's one at the end of a scare zone. But they didn't bother me because of my necklace. But yeah, they don't work in houses. That kind of defeats the purpose of a haunted house, because if you don't,
yeah,
just slightly.
Also, just really quick about the houses, I looked to make sure Siren of the Seas is new, Blood Beckoning is new, and then the Dead Vines was reimagined this year, just for everyone listening.
Yeah, Siren of the Sea was kind of fun. It was like a cruise.
Ooh,
it's like you're going on a cruise, and there's people in like cruise uniforms. That's really all I saw because my best friend told me that there was a chainsaw at the end of the house because there was last year and like one that was there. So the entire time I was like mentally preparing myself for that. So I wasn't really paying attention at all. So I couldn't tell you what was going on in there. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what was going on in most of these. The vibes were good. Sorry to the viewers that wanted good information on Howl-O-Scream. They were all fun. In Deadlines, I got like soaked. Like my face got soaked because there's water sprayers.
Oh my gosh.
Like directly to the face, directly to the eyeball. Captain's Revenge, I did not want to go in. That was the second one we did. And I almost left the line a couple times, but I stayed. It was fun.
Was it really dark? Because I liked that one last year. Drowned in Darkness. That I saw that and I was like, oh
yeah, because that's like Darkness's house. So like all like the sirens have like kind of their own house. Like Beneath the Ice is Frost, Blood Beckoning is Scratch. I couldn't tell you who Siren of the Sea is. Drowned in Darkness is Darknesses. Dead Vines is Hex, the green one.
She knows the lore.
I know.
I do. And then that's really all for houses. We mostly spent time in the scare zones. Sea of Fear, the sea monsters. The sea monsters. They will follow you. They will follow you. Because they're roaming. So they can go anywhere. We had one of them came all the way from the Terrors of the Deep scare zone, which is kind of by Mako. Yeah. And it followed us from the beginning of that scare zone all the way to Monster Stomp. And then after Monster Stomp, there was another one there, and it followed us all the way to another one. And they make noises and they're scary, and their faces like make me like, ugh. It works, but so that's that one. Cargo Carnage was like, it was like vampires, but like adult vampires, like of adult nature. Like they had like harnesses and like whips and things, and I'm like, what is going on here? But it was fun. I liked like the set. Like it's very much cargo, very much like scaffoldings and like construction, but then there's also vampires, but I don't know how that really works into a like sea themed event.
Yeah, it reminds me.
Adam knows.
Oh,
Dracula came on a boat. He killed the entire crew. Like in that story, that's what he did. So
that
maybe
makes
that's
sense.
kind of their cheeky homage.
I love that we all know different lore for different things. Very useful.
Yeah. So that one happened.
It reminds me of
it was fun.
which we'll talk about later, the vampire themed house at Howl-O-Scream Tampa.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Because it's like we got out of there, and my friends that I were with was like, that was kind of like kinky. They're like, why are they in like leather with gags and stuff? And I was like, yeah. So it sounds kind of like that. That's
Howl-O-Scream for you.
It's
yeah.
Interesting.
Cutthroat Cove was like, we were both my friend and I were both day guests, so we had to go in that way. It's like right by the front, kind of. It's like right by the entrance of the park, not the entrance of the event, because the entrance of the event is at a different location. It was cool. They were just pirates.
Was it super foggy in there this year?
Yes.
That is the part that got me, that I'm like, oh my god, when it's really foggy like that, I'm like, oh,
foggy.
They are.
I'm not very good at describing these things, so sorry in advance. But it was fun. They were cool looking pirates. We were there at opening, obviously, and like it like took a few minutes for them to let us in, so all of them were like lined up against the barricade, just like talking to everyone and like heckling. It was kind of fun. And then there's Frozen Terror, which is like kind of by the entrance of the event. There's the sliders, like, that they slide on the pavement in the front. And then there's Frozen Terror. And if any of you guys follow the Howl-O-Scream socials, they've been posting a lot about that really tall guy. He is so scary, and he makes so many noises, and he will just follow you, and he's so scary. And there weren't really, he was like the only scare actor in there, because it's like a really weird place, weirdly placed scare zone, because then you have to walk around Bayside Stadium to get to the other one, so like it's weird. Deadly Ambush was there last year. It's the same exact thing as last year. There is a chainsaw. It did not scare me though.
Whoa.
But that one was fun. It's cute. It's campy, literally.
Literally, literal
campground. It's cute though. Very foggy. Very foggy. And then there's Witchcraft Bayou, which is where the trash can incident happened, and it's literally the same exact thing as well. Which I kind of like. I like how Howl-O-Scream Tampa and now Orlando, since it's their second year, they reuse things and they sometimes will like revamp it. I think it's really fun, like especially for like the more popular houses and scare zones. I like that they redo them. I don't know, it's kind of fun. But the shows. Well, okay, so I only saw 2 of them. I didn't go see Lurking in the Depths because I didn't know that existed.
Are there 3?
There's 4.
According to the website, there's
4.
And then there's Lost Souls Hideaway, which is a drag show, but I can't get in because I'm not 21.
Oh no!
Oh no!
And
all right,
my
I'm gonna have to go.
Is performing in it.
Aww.
And
I'm
so I
gonna
was
have to
able
go.
to go. It looks so fun, so campy. I love that they have a drag show inside a horror event. Like, I think that is so, and at SeaWorld, I think that's iconic. That is so iconic.
Yeah.
I think
Which
her name
one
is like
that?
Serpentina, Lost Souls Hideaway. It's right outside of the Cutthroat Cove scare zone.
Ooh, and really quick before we get into the shows, another thing, 21 plus, because you mentioned that I don't know if it's every scare zone. Some of the scare zones have like a themed bar that goes with the scare zone, which I think is really cool. And we visited those last year with the group I went with, and I don't really drink, but it was just kind of cool to see the atmosphere. And I know they had like themed drinks and things like that. So it's definitely, if you are someone who needs liquid courage, I think that's a cool way to incorporate that, because my husband did. He gets very scared.
Yes.
As the listeners know. But yeah, I just think that's interesting that they do that. But okay, so the shows that you did do, I want to hear about them.
I did Siren Song, which is back from last year, and Monster Stomp, which is also back from last year. And Siren Song, starting at that one, it's all of the sirens. So it's Darkness, Hex, Flame, Frost, and Scratch. All of them. All girl bosses and queens. And it's the same show as last year. It's just like going through all the sirens and they're all killing people. But it's just, the choreography is so awesome, and it's in the round. So like they're all around you, and like you could like walk around to all the podiums during each of their little section. They have scare actors walking through sometimes, like before the show starts. It's really fun. The music's good. It's a good time. I think we saw it multiple times because like we just happened to walk up as it's going. But Monster Stomp.
Well, Bella, before you get into Monster Stomp, I do have a question about Siren Song.
Of course, go for it.
Is it a Streetmosphere show, or is it like in a theater?
It's a Streetmosphere show. It's out in the middle.
Oh, okay.
It's in it's right outside of Altitude. It's not Altitude Burgers anymore. Yeah, it is. I don't know. Whatever that, but it's right by Icebreaker. Right outside Icebreaker.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's like all these podiums just in a big circle, and it's just all right there. They pull the actors like that they kill like from the audience. So cool. Like it makes it seem like they're like pulling random people. Spoiler alert, sorry, they're not. But it's really fun. One of my friends, Ben, is in the show, and he made a YouTube video because he's one of the victims in it. He made a YouTube video, I'll have to send it to you, of like, I got killed at Howl-O-Scream Orlando. I'll have to send it to you.
That's so cool.
So it's really fun. It's also just really fun because like I go to SeaWorld all the time, so like all my friends are in entertainment there, so like it's fun getting to watch them like do all these fun things. That's the only reason why I went to Howl-O-Scream, because I just wanted to go see my friends be scary, and it was fun. But Monster Stomp,
I saw it last year. I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
I did not see it last year, and it is the best Halloween stage show at a horror event ever. Period. End of story.
Wow.
It is like a rock concert. Like the day. Oh my god! It's live music and live singers, and it's Jack the Ripper, and like they sing like the "Wake Me Up Inside" song, and like Cannibal from Kesha, and like Man Eater. Like it's every single bop and like girl boss song that you can think of, it is in it. And the choreography is insane, and they have these really awesome percussionists with like these drums and knives, and it is insane, and it's mesmerizing. It's just, there's no other way to describe it besides insane. Like it's like I can't even like fathom, like I can't even put into words how good it is. And like we have really, like there's really good Halloween dance shows, like Fiends at Tampa, so good. Love the Fiends. And then Nightmare Fuel, that is also incredible. But there is something about Monster Stomp, because like it's in Nautilus Theater, so it's in like kind of a smaller theater. They do a lot of stuff in the summer there. So like it feels like a lot more intimate, I guess, if that makes sense. Like like you can sit right up against the stage. Like there's not like that big gap like at Horror Nights. I don't know. It's just, it's so good.
I am a hardcore Fiends stan because I've been basically going to it every year since I was 12. So for like a long time. But like they just have so much heart in Monster Stomp. Like you can tell they are really going for it.
I literally just got chills thinking about it.
No,
like,
it's so true.
It is unreal. And one of my, like, I had friends in that as well. And one of my friends was the live singer, the girl singer. And it's just, there's something about a show having live singers in a theme park. It always is just so good.
That is something very unique about it. The percussionists were probably my favorite part. Like that was incredible.
Incredible.
Like
I would go again just for Monster Stomp. Like that's it. How can
you go wrong with a Jack the Ripper musical?
Exactly.
Exactly. It's solid. It's really solid. I loved it.
It's just, it's so good. Do you guys have Adam, do you have any questions about Howl-O-Scream Orlando? I know you went last year, Kelly, or this year. What's your question?
I don't want to take away from Adam's question.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I didn't even see. Sorry.
All right. I have a quick question. I wanted to know if more of the event is open this year. Is that right? Because like last year, not more of the event, but like last year when I went, like half of the park pretty much was closed off. Like Manta wasn't there.
Yeah. It's definitely, it feels a lot bigger this year.
Okay.
Because there's more houses this year.
You know, I didn't even notice that. That's true too. Okay.
There's more scare zones this year. I can't really think of where, like, I can't really think in relation to the map, like what is open, because I literally only go to one part of SeaWorld during the day. So I only know that half of the park. I think there's definitely more open on the other side, because like I walked the entire event like 3 or 4 times last year because it was so yeah, it's a lot. And it's definitely, they're definitely not doing COVID restrictions.
No,
no, definitely not. They are right up on you, as I explained.
As you explained, yeah. Adam, did you have any questions about the event or anything?
Well, I wasn't planning to go, but the way you're talking about Monster Stomp,
you have to. Have to.
Like, if you think about it, you're basically paying for a Broadway show at that point. You know,
exactly.
like a Strategy Center show. So that got me really intrigued. And you said there's a bookshop house, or a house that takes place in a bookshop.
Yeah, Blood Beckoning. It's like her secret hideout is in a bookshop.
Oh, that sounds so fascinating, man.
It's so cool.
I might have to go at the last minute.
I wasn't planning on going this year either. I don't know if it's still there, but there was a Groupon for it, so that's how I decided to go, and I went to Tampa with that as well. So a friend of a friend and me are going on Friday. But I just love that a lot of it's like nautical themed just by design,
Yeah.
because those are always like some of my favorite houses. So yeah, I'm super excited to go, and I will definitely tell you guys a little more on my thoughts after I go this weekend.
One of the weirdest things that I like, it's not weird, it was just like startling, but in Dead Vines, obviously you're walking in from like the road. And then it all of a sudden transitions into fake grass, like golf course grass. And it scared me so bad because it was like the change in texture and like feeling, it was so weird, but it was kind of fun. Also, the lines are never long, which was really nice.
Yeah,
the longest we waited was 20 minutes for Blood Beckoning at the start of the event because we were just waiting for the houses to open.
That's a lot better than Tampa. Tampa was pretty packed.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about the wait times. Kind of, I've heard the event's been kind of empty this year, and I don't know if that's a reflection of the quality event. It sounds like it's not. It's just probably because it's newer and it's at SeaWorld, and it feels SeaWorld's a massive park, so that's probably having something to do with the feel of it. Because even when I go to SeaWorld on a normal day, which isn't often, but when I do, like it never feels uber crowded. Maybe there's like a couple of choke points, but that park is so big, you could probably have, the entirety of Hollywood Studios in there, and it still feels like 100%. There's still room to spare. What did you say your favorite? I don't know. You might have said this. I don't know. But what was your like favorite house and your favorite zone? Like, what would you say like among those is like this is worth the price of admission?
Maybe for houses, Blood Beckoning, because like at the last scene is really cool. It ties in Siren Song. It's really cool. Yes, like Scratches in there, and like Scratches in there, and like she's in a cage, and like it's so cool. It's very loud. Like you could hear it like walking like right next to the house. Like it's so loud because it's like in a store that they hollowed out, and like it's just like tarp or like plywood covering like the doors.
Yeah.
So like you can still hear it. Either Blood Beckoning. Blood Beckoning for the house. I think for Scare Zone, Deadly Ambush. Even though it has a chainsaw, it's really long. It's a big Scare Zone, but it's really fun because like you can like talk to them. Like someone came up to me and they were like, "Hope you enjoyed your stay," and I was like, "I didn't." And he was like, "Well," like we were like going off like back and forth about it. I don't know. I just think we talked about it with Sir Henry's, but any haunt event that has live actors instead of like voice triggers.
Yeah.
Voice triggers are great. They're fun. Horror Nights has given us some really funny ones. But there's something about live talking in a haunted house that's so good. It makes it feel more like authentic and real, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, totally.
But yeah,
definitely sounds like it, because this is like the most detail I've heard about the event. I've heard people like say great things about the event, but mostly like Twitter sound bites and stuff. Like this is so good, or I'm obsessed with Jack the Ripper now, or Beneath the Eye should be House of the Year. It's so long and so scary and so dark. But like hearing you talk about it now, and even with Kelly, Kelly, you're bringing in your 2 cents too from last year. Like it really sounds really fascinating, and I think having done something more intimate like Sir Henry's. After doing the big corporate at Universal, kind of this having like it's so fresh and so new, so it still has that I don't want to say indie feel, but like the more intimate feel.
Oh,
while
it does.
also having the corporate name on it and having the mythology. That's what's now like really fascinating me now is like the mythology is really woven into like the show and the house, and even the gimmick that Beneath the Ice is an abandoned bad simulator ride. It used to be Wild Arctic.
Literally.
Rest in peace, Snowman Taylor. But
and like I love how like they have like their own take on the icon thing, like how Horror Nights has an icon. It's always going to be one of the siren. Last year was Darkness, like I said. This year Scratch. I'm excited to see who they do next year, because like the sirens are on everything. Like they had billboards last year.
Mhm.
They're on all of like the drink pouches. Like they have blood bags and like Jello shot syringes. Like they're everywhere. So I think, I don't know. And their marketing team and their social media team is also really good.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. SeaWorld's media team is good. So they definitely know how to market the event. It's definitely sad it's not as busy. Because it's genuinely really good for only their second year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad you had a great time. It sounds really interesting. And I think now, whether it's like this last week of Halloween, and if you're listening to the show, maybe like, you're like, oh, I'm in Orlando. I might as well go. It's the last night. This is on my list to do at some point in the near future. So
just for the bookstore and Monster Stomp.
Pretty much. Like you said, bookstore, you said Monster Stomp. That's one of the best Halloween shows, if not live shows, you've seen in the theme park lately. And that mythology with the 5 sirens, like that's kind of tickling all my boxes and stuff. Like that's some good stuff.
It's so good. You will not be disappointed.
I can't wait. All right. Well, if you guys want to hear me talk about Tampa next,
yes,
we can get into it. So, Howl-O-Scream Tampa, I will say, so I don't remember the exact prices. I could pull it up, but I'm sure it's different every night. But the express passes were pretty expensive, so we didn't get them. We didn't get to do everything. And I feel like part of that goes into, I was also with some, I usually use the term non-theme park people, where they're not going like all the time. So I think if it was just me and like my husband or me and people who regularly go to theme parks, we could have definitely like hit everything, but we were kind of wandering more. So with the wandering, and they wanted to go on some of the rides as well, because they don't usually get to go on them. We did only do 3 of the houses. We were supposed to do 4, but Witch of the Woods, there was an incident that happened. I have no idea what happened, but there were people signing waivers. So something happened and they kind of just had an undetermined amount of time where we would have had to be waiting. So we just left. I assume somebody got hurt. I don't know if it was on what side or anything, but anyway, so I have no idea what happened, but something happened there. So we only did 3, but I have done all of the houses because I did the new house, the Stranglewood Estate, and then I did the Residence Home for the Holidays, which was very, was an updated house, but I feel like sometimes the updated houses don't have huge changes. That was very different from last year. I didn't get to do Deathwater Bayou, but that house has been around, like, I feel like since
for years.
Since I was in middle school, I think.
So it's been there for a long time. So I did do it last year when, I don't remember if they introduced the werewolves last year or the year before. I don't know, but I've been there. I feel like it can't be that different. I've done it a lot. And then I did do Witch of the Woods last year, and we did The Forgotten as well. So we did, that was the 3rd house. Okay, anyway. So well, I guess I'll start with the houses. So the first one we did was The Forgotten, which was the kinky vampires.
Kinky vampires.
What else do you need?
My friends were like, they were really scared, but then they were like, oh, like it's like the Squidward sound when he's oh no, they're hot. So it was like, oh, like there's like there are like several rooms where you hear a guy like screaming, like, and there's supposed to be like a ball gag, and it's interesting. Everyone is hysterically laughing on mute right now. Thank you guys for laughing at my SpongeBob references. That's like literally that's all I could think of.
No, it's so true, and you're so real and valid for that. Like, I was saying the same thing going through the kinky vampire bat scare zone up here.
Literally.
The whole time.
I was like, what? Why are they wearing leather? What is going on? It was a cool house. I don't know. It was the first one we did, and we walked out of it, and I feel like all of us looked at each other like, what just happened? I I didn't find it as scary as the other two, but it was a good time. It was an interesting time. They had some solid scares though. Like they had a good mirror scare, which is my favorite. And then they had like some people were, they had some of those rooms where you can't tell who the scare actor is, which I really like as well. Or like ones where people were very well blending into the wall, they're wearing all black and then there's a black wall or something like that. So they had a lot of like really solid scares, but all in all, the whole time I was just like, what is going on? What is this? So it was wild.
They're hot.
The residence home for the holidays was really cool because I did the residence house last year, and it's kind of like, I don't have the exact description in front of me. I guess I should, but basically the vibe that I got was rich people in a house and you're going into like their mansion thing and they're not happy that you're there. So I don't know exactly what the plot is, but it's something along those lines. And this, with the home for the holidays, there were Christmas lights all throughout it. In the line, they're playing like Christmas songs and like kind of like distorting it a little bit. And there's Christmas lights all out on the facade. And it was just really good. But I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, they added Christmas lights. No, they did a lot of theming in there. There is a belching and farting Santa for some reason in one of the rooms.
Giving Pumpkin Lord.
It is giving Pumpkin Lord. It was one of the weirdest and funniest things I've ever seen in a house. I was like, what? And it's like obviously sound triggers, but I was like, what is this?
Imagine if it wasn't.
So weird. They would need a raise because it would be intense and also gross. But it was really solid. I liked it a lot more than I did because I love like spooky Christmas, because I feel like when you go to Christmas events, it's all very Christmas, like it's very nice and fun and sweet and lovely. So anytime I can have like a spooky Christmas thing where they're like taking this wonderful fun thing and distorting it, I love that.
Speaking of spooky Christmas, you know how Busch Gardens is Christmas town?
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I think they had Christmas haunted houses, because I remember going into this thing and it was like whatever candy canes out of 5 on the scary meter or whatever.
Interesting.
I think that's what that was. I'll look into it after we're finished filming and stuff, but I think that's what it was. Also, speaking of spooky Christmas, David Harbour is going to be Spooky Santa.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you better watch out.
I'm so excited for that. Yeah, but I love spooky Christmas.
Spooky Christmas for the win.
Yeah, it was a fun time. That house there were some solid scares, but that one was definitely the most fun. I'll talk before I get to my favorite house. I'll talk really quick about the ones that I didn't do this year. Listen, I loved Deathwater Bayou so much when I first did it. I have done it so many times now. And I do like the werewolves, but it's not as good as the Werewolf in London houses, obviously, from Universal. So, they need to retire it. I assume that it's called the final phase. I assume this is the last time they're doing this house and they're going to retire it. And I think that's for the best. But it is like, if you've never done it, it's a really solid house. I just feel like I've memorized it at this point because I've been doing it for like 13 years, I feel like. So it's good.
I mean, it's got 2 subtitles. So, I mean, it's got to be.
It does.
It's got to be big this year.
Yeah. I wish I could tell you more about it, but I did it last year with the werewolves. And the werewolves were a cool addition, but also like, why are there werewolves? I don't know. I feel like it was just kind of, let's do something different here. So you can keep the werewolves if you want, but let's take it out of the bayou. This is too much at this point.
Deathwater Bayou. This time it's personal.
Witch of the Woods is freaky from last year. Unfortunately, I didn't do it this year. I don't think there were any changes, or at least not any significant changes, because they didn't consider it a revamped house or anything. I just remember it being dark, and the witch was like really, really cool. And I don't remember if she was like an icon last year or what, but I just remember she was very prevalent in the marketing, and it was a really cool house. I mean, I don't have a lot to say because it's not fresh in my mind anymore, but it was scary. Speaking of scary, Stranglewood Estate. Let me tell you about it. I this is a very theatrical house. Like I was talking about, I loved Final Cut at Sir Henry's. I love a theatrical house. This was okay. Wow. I was waiting, and they did the thing that they did to you, Bella, where they let the other people in, and then they waited like a minute for us to be able to go in, or a minute and 30 seconds. It was way too long when I was standing there. And I agreed to go first in this house, unfortunately. And Kevin and I are the kind of people that run through the house, basically, like not literally, but I want to see things, but I also am scared. So I'm like speed walking by design. So we were walking fast enough that people behind us did not catch up to us, like our friends. And it was just me and Kevin, basically, going through this ghost house. Now, I don't know if this was just so they could see us or if it was part of the scare. So there's the dividers, like the black dividers, like the plastic ones. They would take it while we're there, like, I don't know, 10 feet away from us, peel them back, like peek out and look at us, and then hide and go back into their spots. So we would just, it was a very scary and solid ghost house. The whole time I was talking to Kevin, I was like, I hate it. I want to be out of here. I hate it. And then I went out and I was like, that was one of the best houses I've done, because it's so well done.
That was me in Universal Monsters this past weekend.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
man, scary.
Oh,
That was scary. I loved that house. But yeah, so like I feel like literally every scene they're like peeking out looking at us, but it didn't seem like it was like, oh, there's people coming. It was like very like in character, and it's like they're haunting and they're just like floating around, basically. It was the scariest thing. There were so many super well done scares. It was theatrical. I like a ghost house, but I feel like kind of it can be hard to do, because just by design of what ghosts are, they nailed it with like the haunted and ghost feel. It was a pretty dark house as far as like the lighting and things like that, but they didn't do a ton of strobe effects or anything like that. It was just kind of like a dimly lit house, and that's just how it is the whole time, which I kind of like when they have limited lighting effects. Like I think they have a good place in a house, but I think we talked about before, like I don't love when there's a ton of strobe effects. I don't remember any strobe. If there was any, I don't know, I was apparently too scared, but it was just like really solidly done ghost house, and I loved it. And going through by ourselves was scary, but I think that was for the best. I assume they timed it that way, because some of the other houses we would still see people a little bit in front of us. It wasn't as separated. I'm glad they separated it as much as they did, because it really added to the feel of the house. But if you want to be scared, I hope they have that house again next year, because I loved it so much. It was great. Oh, and I did Iron Gwazi for the first time. I feel like we should have like a whole coasters episode probably, but that was wild. That is one of the craziest rides in Florida. Like that was crazy. And we had a single rider spot next to us. So we had it had just hit 7:00 when the event starts, when we were getting onto the ride. And so we had someone riding with us. I think they were like an asylum person. And
oh yeah, I forgot they do that.
Yeah. Oh, they do that where they're riding with you. Some of the characters are riding with you if you have an open spot. And we had someone who chickened out on the ride. She does not like roller coasters. So they came on and sat next to him. And I guess she was talking to him in like a normal voice. And then she's like, yeah, it's based on like this species of alligator or something. And she goes, and there's this roll that's like a really tight roll that goes like this. And then she goes in character, it's called the death roll. What?
Oh my
then,
god.
Then she was like, I hope you guys are screamers. And it was just very like funny. Like she had all these little one-liners to throw in there. I was like, I love roller coasters. I can't imagine riding the same one over and over again, that they're just waiting for a spot to pop in. I'm like, I don't know how long they do that at a time. That's intense, but that was cool that they have. Yes, like,
yeah,
crazy ride. But that was cool. And then just real quick on the scare zones, Raven's Mill is the scarecrow one, and it's like as you're walking towards Shikra, like past those like bird aviaries, I think, if you're coming from that direction. I did not know the scare zone was going to be there, and that one was scary because it was very claustrophobic, and it's like all the actors did a really solid job in that one, and we were basically running through it. The junkyard I didn't do this year, but I assume it's the same, where it's a one-way scare zone. which they started during 2020 when they had a limited event where I don't think they had any houses, and I went that year. And that was a really good scare zone because it almost feels kind of like something like Sir Henry's, but not as much of a, like, you know, like Sir Henry's is a little bit different because it's really more like a house, I would say, but it's kind of like an in-between of like a Sir Henry's type of thing and a scare zone because it's more intimate and it is one way, and you kind of are a little bit more spaced out. And then I don't remember the In the Shadows one. I don't know if we went through there. I know it's like cryptids, or the Skeleton Crew Ghost Pirates. So I just don't know if we went through those or if maybe they were like, oh, we did go through the Pirates one. It wasn't as good as the one at SeaWorld. I really like their pirate scare zone. So just don't remember it as well. But the shortcut is like a graveyard thing, and you're going through a graveyard and they're all dressed in like all black. And it's supposed to be like a shortcut through a graveyard. It is very scary because you can barely see them. They had a voodoo scare zone, which was good. Like, you know, very Deathwater Bayou vibes, I guess, with that. And then Beyond the Veil was so cool. It was like trippy, like I guess it's like fairies and like orcs and stuff like that. It was trippy. It felt like I was like going into like Alice in Wonderland kind of world. Like there were colors, there was bubbles. I assume this was new this year because I have not seen it before. There was like fog effects. Like there's like this huge bubble machine where everyone was like playing with bubbles while like people are coming out and scaring them. It was really cool. That was my favorite for sure because it was just trippy and it was also scary. Like I was trying to take a video of it and someone got me really good that I did not see, and I'm just screaming in the video. It was very fun. So they did a good job with the scare zones this year. I feel like they weren't all super memorable, but for me personally, but the ones that were memorable, I absolutely loved, like the Scarecrows and Beyond the Veil and the Shortcut one and Junkyard from last year. We didn't, since that was a one way, we would have had to go out of our way and we were really kind of trying to hit the houses. So we didn't do it, but that's really good too.
I saw on their website, they said something about hidden scare zones and hordes. Were they roaming hordes?
There were roaming hordes. So there were these guys that were like, they had chainsaws. So they had roaming chainsaws.
They were like
Bella.
Dressed as normal people.
Yes. They looked like
I saw that on
people.
TikTok.
They just
I
looked
saw it
like
on TikTok.
It looked like just your uncle walking around in a t-shirt with like a chainsaw. It was like, it was really spooky because I didn't expect it. I know in past years they've had where they're pushing like a trash can and they're just dressed up as like custodial and they will hit a button and something will pop out of the trash can. Same thing with like a stroller. I didn't see any of that this year, but I love that they have people that just look like normal people. That was the only one I remember seeing, but they definitely did have roaming hordes this year, and that was I always like when they have that. When we saw it, it was over by Shikra, but I know that they move around. So yeah, that was cool.
I like how at Busch Gardens they have scare actors right outside the entrance and then in line while you're waiting to scan your ticket.
Yes.
I love it.
Neat. Yeah. And we did early because I did not know this, that you can get in, I think it's at 5:00 with your ticket. So we went in early and we went on a couple rides before the event started. So that was, we didn't get to see a lot of that, but I do like that they get the scare started early. Like that is a good decision. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really solid event this year. It was fun. I've been going to that event for a long time. I think this year was one of the better years in recent years because I feel like they did some really cool theming as far as like icons, like in the beginning years, like the Raven twins, and they had like a year where it was like 13 something and there were all these different icons. So I hope that they go back to something like that because I didn't feel like there was much of a cohesive theme throughout the event or like a specific icon that I like. If there was one, I didn't really notice. So definitely hope that they kind of go back to that. But as far as like each of the scare zones in the houses, it was all really solid. The one thing that really stunk was I went the weekend after the hurricane passed through here, and luckily we got very lucky in the Tampa Bay area as far as the hurricane because we were really worried about that. But I don't know what happened, but they had all of the shows closed.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, so I didn't get to do any of the shows. I really wanted to do that 50-50 choose your fate show because it's on all the like marketing and it just looks really cool. So I hope someone's got a good YouTube video of that and I'll have to watch that later. But
Yeah, it
yeah,
didn't
we
look like it's
didn't
like some sort
do
of
it.
game show type thing. So I was
Yeah.
curious, like, if they're doing that, like, is it like a legit game show or is it like scripted but with a game show theme?
That's what I'm wondering. So I'm gonna have to look that up because unfortunately we didn't get to do that. That was the one
Yeah.
show that I really wanted to do. And then Fiends I do every year and I always really enjoy that. So I'll probably have to watch that as well because they do little changes to it, but there's always like pop culture references and
I
everything.
know this year it was Vegas themed, right?
Yes, because I know last year was as well. So I think they kept that. And I loved
Yeah.
it because they brought it to. So I've been going, they used to have, I don't know if they still have this, but they used to have something called Fright Feast where you can pay an extra amount and you get in a little bit early to the event and you get like a buffet dinner in, oh, I don't know Busch Gardens well enough. It's one of the restaurants.
The Pantopia Grill.
Yes.
Home at the
I
stage.
believe that's the one. Yeah. And so they have the stage. And so they used to do Fiends in there and then it would be there throughout the night.
Yeah.
And you would get a wristband and you could go in the fast pass lane for the first hour of the event. So we would run and do all the houses real quick and then we'd kind of focus on rides after. So that was great. I hope they still have that. And then I know they kept doing the event for a while until COVID in 2020, but or not the event, but the add-on, but they changed it to like a magic show and they would do like other shows in there. And then they brought Fiends to the bigger stage by Shikra. And then now they have it at the big outdoor stage, I believe. At least they did last year where they
that's what they have when I
have
went.
like the concerts. Yeah. So
Behind
it's
Guazi.
really grown. Yep, exactly. So it's really grown a lot, which I think is really cool. I assume the 50-50, I think the Choose Your Fate show was by Tigress in that, Tigress and Shikra in the middle there. I can't think of what that theater is called, but Stanley Theater, maybe?
That would make sense because
That would
Stanley
make-
Bill.
yeah.
They probably have
Yeah.
a theater over there. I'm a Busch Gardens annual pass holder, but I hardly go, so I don't know it too well anymore. But that sounds about right.
I don't know the names very well at Busch Gardens for like things other than rides. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, but I think that's where that was. So yeah, Fiends has grown a lot and I think that's a great show, but I was excited to see the new one. So hopefully either they do it next year or they have something equally as interesting and cool because I do like the shows at Howl-O-Scream Tampa a lot. But if you can splurge for Express, I think it's definitely worth it at Tampa at least because it sounds like Orlando had shorter lines and they did last year when I went as well. But even though Orlando's like a super solid event, I think it's definitely worth going. Maybe Express isn't as necessary unless you want to ball out. But Tampa, I think you either have to have like a really solid plan or get Express. I mean, if you've got like solid, like quote unquote theme park people, as I say, and like people that like are willing to like, yeah, let's go. We're going to do this. We have a plan. I think you can definitely do everything you want to do. But if you're kind of just perusing or you're not used to the event, I would say if you can pay for Express, it's definitely going to be worth it because the Express lines were so short. It's not like Halloween Horror Nights where they're still pretty long. Everything, like if you're going Express, you're getting right on the ride or house. At least from the night that I went, and I went on a Saturday in October. So that was partially my fault. But it was so busy.
It's the one like downside I think that I have with Howl-O-Scream Tampa is that all of the shows are outside and that just comes into play with the hurricane because I mean the stage was down and like now it's back up, but like I feel like there's like better ways just to do that. I feel like there's just some, I mean obviously you can't really like prepare for a big natural disaster such as a hurricane.
Sure.
Yeah. It's kind of like you're kind of on crunch time with a hurricane because they can do so many things. But I feel like there's a better way for them to do Fiends because it is such a popular show. It will always keep coming back. I don't think they'll ever get rid of it.
I hope they don't. It's
because my
great.
friends up here will go down there just to go see Fiends. Like it's a classic. It's so good.
I think, and I mentioned this when I went to the event, but I just remembered, I think a big part of the lines too when I went though were because there's no shows to be like people eaters and have people waiting for. I mean, they have 4 shows, I think. So when you have all those shows, it really like holds a lot of people. So I think that was a big part of it too. Maybe if the shows because I usually don't have any problems with lines at Howl-O-Scream Tampa, but this year was pretty crazy. I think part of it was that the shows were closed too. So it's one of those things where I don't know if it's any cheaper to buy them in advance, but you could always wait to buy express to see if the lines are long enough to do so. But yeah, I mean, without those shows, that was rough. So yeah, but it was still a really fun event. I'm glad we went, if only for Stranglewood Estate, to be honest. And Home for the Holidays was cool too. But Stranglewood Estate was fantastic and one of my favorite houses I've done this year. It was just really solid, and they did a good job with that, especially the actors. They killed it.
So, yeah. Now, I've seen a lot of hype for Stranglewood Estate. Not so much the other things, but definitely Stranglewood. So I was very curious to hear what your thoughts on that were. And I'm very happy that a ghost house of all things is like what killed it this year. It's ghosts can go one way or the other. Like they can just, oh, look, it's spooky. Or it could be like, this is, I want to run and cry right now. So I'm glad it was the latter and not the.
Yeah. They did a ghost house one year. Oh, gosh, called like Behind the Walls or Within the Walls. I don't know, something with walls. And I remember there was a part where you had to crawl and there's like a white, like, I don't know, like sheets, but they're blowing air in it so that it's touching you. And their hands were across it. Oh,
absolutely not.
They do a good job apparently with Ghost House. I don't
they
remember
made you
if it was
crawl
a good house,
in a haunted house at an event.
Yeah, I don't think they do that anymore, but that was crazy. Well, I saw something online that someone said that they made them crawl in Stranglewood, but I did not. So I don't know if that was something that was earlier in the event this year or later, because they were like, oh yeah, it was really scary, especially when I crawled. And I was like, what? And this was before I went. I was in line and I was like,
the casual mention of it.
So I don't know, but yes, there was another event. Oh my gosh, the scariest house I've ever done there was called Zombie Mortuary. And they did that also for like 10 years. Like it was there for a long time because I hated it because it was so scary, but it was a great house. And there was a part where there was like and they're holding up like a tomb, like I don't know, like something, a casket. A word popped in my brain. And it's like, something that's stationary is holding it up and they make you like go under it. You don't have to crawl, but you have to like lean down under it. And then there's like a noise or something in it. And it was scary. So they do a lot of interactive stuff. I feel like they haven't as much in the past few years, unless maybe Stranglewood had it and I didn't get to do that. I don't know, but spooky crawling is very freaky. Reminds me of you guys remember when they did Alone? Did you hear about that?
Was it like the extra charge house at Busch? Was it at Busch?
Yeah. Oh boy, I became like obsessed with it. I never did it, but I watched videos of. You can't really do a video walkthrough, but it was like they had the phone like in their pocket, getting the audio, and they'd have like some still pictures and then explain it. I was like obsessed with it, and I wanted to know everything about it because there can only be up to 4 people, and apparently it's one of the scariest things they've ever done. And there were parts where you had to crawl there, but it was based on like Daedalus and like the lab. Is it Daedalus and like the labyrinth and stuff? Or maybe. I don't know.
The Greek mythology. Yes. Maybe.
It was like a Greek mythology.
I knew a guy who actually did do it. Now that you're talking about it, I remember him being like, "Oh yeah, I did that. It's cool." Yeah, I think he finished it. He didn't seem super phased, but I think he had just been through a lot of haunts in his life at that point.
Yeah.
So it could have been based off the Greek myth.
Probably like 2014. I would have been phased at the time that it came out. And then they did another one called something like The Experiment, I think. And I did all kinds of research on these. And I wish they would bring something like that back, because I don't know if I would do it now, but I would definitely be much more likely to do it now than I would have when I was younger. And I know that had a lot of specifically Alone had a lot of like crawling portions. And I know the first year they did it, like if you completed it by yourself, you got a t-shirt. And scary. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool that they do that kind of stuff there, but I think maybe they've done less of it because of how much more crowds there have been in recent years with haunts and things like that at corporate haunts. So anyway, yeah, it was really spooky and solid, and I liked the event.
It's good.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell too if you've been listening to the show, like there are so many different flavors of Halloween. At the theme parks for one, but also just things like Sir Henry's that are smaller, it's literally on an access road, like you have to seek some of these things out, but they offer the different flavors, whether it's intimacy or production or mythology and lore, or just like they do a good show. So it's really interesting because like I started doing haunts in 2019. Like I started really late. I guess your 20s isn't late, but you know what I mean.
No, yeah, I get you.
Yeah, started late with Halloween Horror Nights, and then everyone's like, oh well, if you've done Halloween Horror Nights, you really don't need to do anything else. But like branching out to Sir Henry's this year and hearing how Howl-O-Scream's not necessarily like better or worse, it's just a different flavor. And from what it sounds like, it's a pretty tasty flavor. And like growing up next to Busch Gardens, I mean not right next, but like in the neighborhood of Busch Gardens, like Howl-O-Scream is always popping up on like billboards and stuff. And like as a casual observer, I go into the Wikipedia page and look up who's the icon this year, what's the new story, what's the theme. I'd hear like the dark side of the guard.
I was just thinking
the
that.
radio all the time.
Yes, that was my favorite.
And then stopped doing themes and icons for a while.
They gotta bring that back.
I think they should. I'd go if they brought out a new icon. Like, I don't know. It's fun to hear all these different things, and I hope like the viewers who are, or listen, I guess the listeners who are listening, I gotta make sure you get to say the right one. That if they're just getting into haunts, or they've done the same haunt every year, of course it depends on your budget and whatnot. But I hope this episode has given you some idea of, and this season has given you some ideas of like other ways you can branch out and new experiences you can have, and not necessarily think of these as like, well, Howl-O-Scream is better than Sir Henry's or however combination you have of it. I'll only do that one. This is the only one that matters. I think that's probably the better way to put this. Is the only one that matters. It's like there's different ways to scare yourself. Like there's different horror movies out there. There's different theme parks and roller coasters, and like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I
know what you're trying to say. I get it.
I think it's just like a interesting thing. I think that's one of the great things about this industry that we love, is that the creativity is so evident no matter how it's executed, and they execute themselves. They execute their events in so different and fun ways, and I think it's totally worth doing and branching out.
It's like it's one of those things as far as budgeting, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because there are a lot of haunts and it's hard to fit all of them in your budget. So I feel like the thing to do is do some research, or like look up what kind of haunts each ones are. Like if you're looking for scary, I think Sir Henry's is a really solid way to do that on a budget, and it's also like a fabulous production value for what you're paying. And if you're looking for like the shows and kind of more of the interactive elements in that way, like Howl-O-Scream, both options are really good for different reasons. And then Halloween Horror Nights is one of those things that's like always going to be expensive, but if you really like the event, or you really like one of the IPs that are coming there, or something really speaks to you with that, there are ways to do it cheaper if you want to go multiple times. If you want to get one of the passes, like I like the Rush of Fear a lot, and I'll go in September, and I'll go a ton in September, and then in October I'll do some of the more local haunts, or the other haunts that are in the area. Smaller, I mean, Howl-O-Scream is only a little bit smaller. Well, I don't know if that's true, but it is a smaller event, even though it's still a corporate event. And there's other haunts too. Like I know if you're in Orlando, Scream and Stream, it's a drive-through.
I did
haunt.
that in 2020.
Yeah, and it's cool because you're paying based on the car, and I don't know the exact how many passengers and things like that, but if you want to get a group together, that's a cool thing that you can do. So yeah, there's a lot of really solid haunts that are good to support, and make sure you do your research on that as well. But any of the ones that we talk about will be good. But yeah, or at least as far as we know.
Yeah, because I mean things come out after the fact and all that, but
absolutely
you want to try to
basically
be as close as you can.
Yeah, we'll only talk about the ones that we personally
all
have.
of them except that single one.
Yeah.
The one haunt event in Florida we have not talked about and will not talk about.
Yeah. Oh, and what was the one?
I heard Petrified Forest is good.
Petrified Forest I've heard is cool. I definitely need to try to do that next year because I won't have time this year. And there was another one that's a drive-through thing that's Oh, maybe it's Scream and Stream, actually. I think that's what I'm thinking of. But now it's like in a mall, but I don't think it was originally. I did that last year because I won an Instagram thing where we got to go for free. And it was really cool. It was fun. Scary. There was a couple of ones that really got me. I was like, I'm in a car. They can't scare me, but I would be looking at one thing and then they'd come at me from another side.
No,
they love what they do there.
I went in 2020, their first year doing it, and I sat in the front seat, and like, there was one point where I'm like all the way down at the bottom of the chair with my feet like up because he was like, the guy was like right here, and I just like kept trying to get away, and they just keep coming back to me because I was in the front. And that was my first. That was before I did Howl-O-Scream. That was before I did Horror Nights. So that was like my first like experience with any of it. It was fun, but
they love what they do.
We also waited forever to get in, so
yes,
hopefully they have a better system because it was so bad we almost did not get in, and we drove an hour and a half to go.
Okay, so the same thing happened to us. We drove an hour and a half to go, and we waited forever in line. But there is, if you have some extra money to spend, there is a VIP option where you can literally get in pretty much immediately. And they also give you some extra things as well. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they gave you like some goodies. Like I think there was like a bumper sticker and like a token and things like that. I think it probably would have been worth it, but we were like, no, we won this for free. We're going for free. So we didn't end up paying for it, but I think it would have been worth it because we waited a long time. So I think that's definitely something to consider. And maybe if you can go on, like, again, we went on a Saturday because just with my work schedule, that works best for us. Maybe if you can go on a Sunday, or I don't know which days of the week they do it, but like not a Friday or Saturday, it would be a little bit better. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was a fun event as well. So, and I haven't done it this year either. The only ones I've done this year are the ones we talked about today. So yeah, I definitely agree with Adam. There's a lot of different things. Howl-O-Scream at Tampa and Orlando usually has a Groupon, or at least they have the past 2 years. So
you can get tickets for so cheap.
If you buy online, they're half the price. Even if you're not a pass holder, it's half the price to buy online.
That's true. So yeah, definitely. If you have any questions too about haunts, even if it's not one we mentioned, usually we know somebody who's been or something. So if you guys ever have any questions, definitely message us on Twitter or however.
Comment below on YouTube if you're listening on YouTube.
YouTube, yep.
And of course on your podcast platforms. We don't have any place to comment, but we're glad that you're listening and subscribing and all that jazz. But yeah, and our theme park workshop socials on Instagram, it's theme park workshop, and on Twitter it's at workshop TP. Follow us and tweet us these questions, message us, and you can message us individually. And if one of us doesn't know, we'll probably redirect you to the other one. I think I think Kelly probably knows all.
Kelly knows
I've been doing
everything.
I've been doing this since I was 12, so this is I love horror things for sure. Yeah, just we don't bite, so feel free. And I don't know why I share the YouTube link every week that we do this, like every week that an episode releases in my bio, and I forgot somehow that you guys can comment on YouTube, duh. But anyway, yeah, reach out to us any way you want. We're happy to talk about all things theme parks and haunts.
Or things not theme parks and haunts.
Yeah, if you just want to say hi.
Yeah.
It's true.
If we want to talk about Taylor Swift's new album, DMs are open and will stay open.
Fair warning that I will not shut up about Taylor Swift's new album
it's
if
so
you message
good.
me. It's me.
No,
Hi.
literally.
I'm the problem. It's me.
It's me.
Well, I'm glad that on this show I'm not a lone kid, and I never have been.
That hurt. Oh no. That hurt. That was good though.
Thank you. I've only listened to like 5 of the songs so far, so I'm like quickly going through the lyrics that I can remember, trying to think of a good reference at this moment.
That was good. Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was solid. Great.
But yeah, we're about to go into the Patreon exclusive segment, so I think this is a good point to wrap up the main show. As I said, I'm not alone, but my name's Adam. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamJ_film. Follow me there. I've been tweeting a lot about haunts lately, and I'll probably tweet a bunch about other theme park things along the way. I was the movie guy, now I'm the theme park guy. So how about that? Yeah, follow me there. As I said, follow the show on Instagram at Theme Park Workshop. Follow us on Twitter at Workshop TP. And Bella and Kelly, where can the people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter, Killer_Kells with an S, or on Instagram, Kelly D. Hoffman, and that's Kelly with an extra E.
And you can find me on Twitter at Bella Harvey with 2 Y's. And then over on Instagram at Flynn Rider's Nose.
Do you guys watch She-Hulk real quick? Where she's like,
No.
I don't know what she says. Something like, there's an extra E, but it's not where you think. It is where you think. It's Kelley. She-Hulk was great. That's another episode, but She-Hulk was great. Watch She-Hulk if you're listening to this. It's very fun and meta and silly, and I loved it. And the haters are wrong, and it has Megan Thee Stallion in it.
True.
This is true. So anyway, happy Halloween, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing, liking, commenting, messaging, all that jazz. And we will see you next time for our Halloween Horror Nights 31 rankings / final review. We hope to see you there.
Stay safe tonight. Have fun, everyone.
Bye.